Hello, Hamza.
Hello, Dio.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice
It's
to
a
meet
pleasure
you.
to be here, right?
Yes.
And hi guys, welcome back with me, Yunus Budi Darmawan, and I'm sitting right here with.
I'm Muhammad Azudin, and today we're talking about something that honestly hits pretty close to home.
Yes, it's really close to home, right?
Yes.
Because today's episode is about our future, the future of young Indonesian. The big question: is Indonesian economic development truly working for young people?
And this episode is called A Generation Without a Future, the youth unemployment crisis and the paradox of Indonesian development. And a big question, and we're going to try to answer it together.
And the spoiler, the answer is not as simple as what you hear in official speech and government press release.
Which is exactly why we're here. Alright, let's start with some facts. Facts that you might already know but might not have really felt the weight of.
After that, we start with the numbers.
Okay.
According to Indonesian Central Statistic Agency, BPS, as of Augustus 2024, the national open unemployment rate or TPT in Indonesia stands at 4.91%.
Okay.
Sounds smart, right?
Okay, but hold on. 1 in every 6 young Indonesian who wants to work cannot find a job. Think about that. If you're sitting in a room with 6 peers, one of them is probably out there right now, struggling to find employment.
Ah, that's right. Because when we zoom into the 15 until 24 age group,
Okay.
that's our generation, the unemployment rate jumps to nearly 17%. That's 3 times the national average. And that's only the official unemployment rate. That doesn't count people working odd jobs below their qualification. People doing informal gig work with no security.
Okay.
Or people who have simply given up looking and dropped out of the labor force entirely.
And the ILO has category called NET, or not in education, employment or training in Indonesia. The net rate for young people has hovered around 22% in recent years. That means more than 1 in 5 young Indonesians is not studying, not working, and not being trained for anything.
And here's what really unsettles me. Indonesian economy is growing, GDP is rising. But why is that young people seems to be getting left further behind?
Okay, that is what economics call jobless growth. Economic expansion that fails to generate enough quality employment, and this isn't a new phenomenon. It's been happening for years, and there's still no general structural solution on the table.
Okay, let's dig deeper.
Okay.
Throughout 23 and 2024, Indonesian economy grew at roughly 5% annually. That's not a small number. It's actually above the global average.
But where is that growth happening? In which sectors? That's the key question.
That's exactly.
Yes.
Indonesia's growth is still heavily driven by commodity sector.
Okay.
Coal, palm oil, and nickel, which do generate large export revenues, but are fundamentally capital intensive, not labor intensive.
Okay.
So even when the GDP numbers look great, job creation is limited.
But meanwhile, the sectors that could realistically absorb large numbers of young workers, like high value-added manufacturing or generally inclusive digital economy.
And there's an even more unsettling dimension to this.
Okay.
Indonesia is currently at the peak of its demographic dividend. The working age population has never been larger as a proportion of the total population. In theory, this is should be golden window of opportunity.
But the demographic dividend is a double-edged sword. If it's not matched with sufficient and quality job creation, it can flip into a demographic disaster, a massive social burden, instability, and potential unrest.
And there's an economist, the name is Arthur Lewis,
Okay.
had a famous theory about economic dualism. A modern productive sector operating alongside a traditional sector that absorbs surplus labor.
Okay.
Indonesian is still very much living inside that duality.
Okay. The informal sector still absorbs nearly 60% of Indonesian workforce, That means the majority of working Indonesia have no adequate social security, no formal contracts, and low productivity. That's not a development success story. It's a reminder that our structural transformation is far from the success.
And young people feel this most actually.
Okay.
A generation that is more educated than any before it, yet struggling to find the work that actually matches their qualification.
Okay. Okay, Dio. Let's pause for a moment from the numbers. Because behind every statistic is a human face. There are parents who sacrifice everything to put their child through university, dreaming of a better life.
They are graduates who have sent out the hundreds of job applications. Fresh graduates who are working as right, hauling diverse, and not by a choice.
Okay.
But because there is simply no other option available to them.
And this isn't only a big city phenomenon. In regions across Java, in East Nusa Tenggara, in parts of Sulawesi, youth unemployment figures can be even higher because of limited access to formal employment markets.
And there's one issue that rarely gets discussed openly. That's the issue is the psychological toll of prolonged unemployment.
Okay.
Research shows that extended unemployment at young age can leave permanent scars. What economists call the scoring effect. People who experience long unemployment in their youth tend to earn lower wage, even year down the line.
Okay, that's not just an economic crisis. That is humanitarian crisis because work is not merely a source of income. Work is identity, dignity, a sense of belonging in society.
And there's a deeper layer of injustice here.
Okay.
Who is hit harder? Not young people from wealthy families who can comfortably wait for the right job while still being well fed. Not those with strong networks and connection.
Okay. Those who suffer most are young people from lower and lower middle class families who have no safety net, no connection, and no capital to start their own business. They are caught between ambition and reality.
And paradoxical, they are precisely the people who need inclusive development the most. But they are also the ones who benefit least from economic growth as it currently operates.
This is what we call intergenerational injustice. Previous generations could enter the civil service relatively easily by affordable housing, live decently with just a high school diploma. But us, our generation has to compete far harder, with a cost of living that's far higher and opportunities that don't match the effort required.
And right now, we need to be honest about our policy.
Okay.
Not to assign a blame to any single part, but because if we can't correctly identify the problems, we will never arrive at the real solution.
Okay, and the first, Indonesian education system continues to produce a massive skill mismatch between graduate qualification and what the labor market actually needs. We keep producing graduates in large numbers, but without serious synchronization with industry.
And there's a many university programs are running on curricula that are 5 to 10 years out of the date. Students who graduate with degrees but without a skill that today economy actually demands.
And the second, our investment policies have been substantially directed toward creating quality jobs. We've been aggressive in attracting foreign investment, but too often that investment goes to capital intensive or high technology sectors that don't meaningfully absorb local labor at scale.
And the third is labor protection for young workers are extremely weak. The rise of the gig economy and digital platform has opened up the new opportunity. Yes, but it also has created a pressurous work, like a temporary, insecure, and with no social security and no fundamental worker rights.
Okay, and the Omnibus Law on Job Creation, which was designed to attract investment, has been widely perceived as weakening workers. regaining power relative to employers. This is genuine trade-off that we need to debate openly and honestly.
And the fourth is, I think this is so critical
Okay.
that our social police remain to reactive rather than preventive. And we provide the social assistance to people after they have fallen, but we don't invest nearly enough in preventing people from falling in the first place.
Okay. And you know the Kartu Pekerja program or the pro-employment card?
And
Yes. Is a compelling concept in theory, but in practice, significant budget intent for quality training has been absorbed by digital platform with content quality that's been widely questioned.
okay, so what should actually be done? We can only criticize without offering direction.
That's great. At minimum, there are several policy directions that development economic broadly support. First, a more serious industrial transformation toward high value added manufacturing. This is what South Korea and Taiwan did several decades ago, and the results were extraordinary.
And then the second is about genuine vocational education reform. It's not just on a paper, but with a real industry involvement in curriculum design, internship programs, and job placement pipelines.
Okay. And the third, an inclusive entrepreneurship ecosystem, not only for those who already have capital, but equitable access to financing for young people from lower income families.
And the fourth is about perhaps most fundamentally, it's about policies that genuinely position young people as a long-term investment, not merely a number in an economic growth report.
Okay, Dio. We've talked a lot about what's wrong, but I want to move to perhaps the most personal part. What can we as young people actually do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I want to be honest, I don't believe the entire responsibility sits on individual shoulders. If the system is broken, simply telling individuals to work harder is sufficient and can even be a form of victim blaming.
That's great, but at the same time, there are things we can genuinely do while continue to push for systemic change.
Yeah, and first, become a literate about the data and issue.
Okay.
Because we cannot apply for a change we ourselves don't understand. Understanding the development economies and understanding the public policy, this isn't just an academic exercise. It's essential equipment for being a critical, engaged citizen.
Okay, and the second, build cross-generational and cross-class solidarity. Too many of us are siloed. Urban versus rural youth, university graduates versus vocational school graduates. Yet our core challenges are largely the same and can be addressed together.
And the third is we must to use our voice, and both literally and figuratively. In election, in public discourse, in social media, use it as responsibly. Police change happens when there sufficient pressure from below.
And fourth, perhaps most importantly, don't lose hope. But don't be naive either. Hope that is built on realistic understanding is far stronger and more durable than blind optimism.
And there's a line I always come back to.
Okay.
It's from the economist. The name is Amartya Sen. He says, development is not about how large the GDP is, but about how broadly human beings are free to live up to their fullest potential. And as long as millions of young Indonesians still cannot do that.
Okay. That was today's conversation on youth, unemployment, jobless growth, and the paradox of Indonesian development. It was an easy conversation, but we believe it's a necessary one.
Okay, Hamza, thank you so much for coming. And
Okay.
guys, thank you so much for the listening. If you have a different perspective or a personal experience that connects to what about we talked about today, you can write today in the comment, and because we genuinely want to hear it, because the best conversation is are always two-way.
Okay, Until next time, stay critical, stay compassionate, and keep moving forward.
See you next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Dio.
you, Hamza.